Tight end Austin Hooper is the Falcons' most high-profile free agent. A lot of fans want to see him re-sign, but some of the rumors swirling about what his contract might eventually be worth might make re-signing him difficult. We'll talk about it next on AJC Falcons News Now.
This is AJC Falcons News Now, sponsored by Miller Lite. Here are your hosts, Brandon Adams and former Atlanta Falcon Chuck Smith.
Hello everybody, welcome into AJC Falcons News Now, sponsored by Miller Lite. My name is Brandon Adams. Happy to have the former Atlanta Falcon Chuck Smith on hand as well. We'll talk to you for the next 60 minutes about everything going on with the Dirty Birds. Chuck Smith has got his own wish list together for who he'd like to see the Falcons bring in to address its pass rush needs. That's going to be fun a little bit later on in the program. But Chuck, if you don't mind, I want to begin with the latest in the Austin Hooper saga as Atlanta tries to figure out how much money it has to re-sign all these guys and just how much it's going to cost to re-sign a guy like Austin Hooper. Let me reset it this way, Chuck, and you tell me if I'm accurate in describing your opinion. You and I are both seemingly fairly of the mind that Atlanta needs Hooper, that he is one of those free agents that moving on from him makes him, I think, very difficult to replace, and you've kind of echoed that same sentiment. Is that fair to say?
Yes. Love Austin Hooper.
Yeah, a lot of our audience at times has been like, maybe for the price tag, maybe this may end up being too difficult for Atlanta to do. And it's that price tag that's kind of in the spotlight here today because Tom Pelissero from the NFL Network was on TV. Now, let me set it up this way. The initial comments about George Kittle and what his value is to San Francisco and how much money he might command. But in the midst of talking about Kittle, Pelissero then kind of pivots over to some of the other tight ends, both guys like, say, Zach Ertz, who will have a contract coming up in a couple of years, and Austin Hooper, who's a free agent right now. And listen to how expensive Tom Pelissero from the NFL Network says guys like Austin Hooper might be. This number, I found it to be eye-popping. Here's Tom Pelissero from the NFL Network talking about the potential contract for Austin Hooper. Take a listen to this.
You have some other interesting names, talented players coming up at tight end as well. Austin Hooper leads this free agent class. You got guys like Zach Ertz and Travis Kelce who have 2 years left, but if teams are looking at this with the new CBA coming, new TV deals coming, the salary cap is only going to go up. It makes sense for teams like the Eagles to move quickly, the Chiefs to move quickly and try to lock in these deals. All those players I just mentioned, it would not be a surprise if their number per year goes to $13 million or more.
So Darren Reef in our Facebook comment section says, I want Austin Hooper back, but not if the price tag is $10 million a year. But you just heard the NFL Network guy say it's not $10 million a year. It might be $13 million a year for a lot of reasons, just demand in the market and the availability of money, given the fact the salary cap's about to go up. Does it change your tune at all on Austin Hooper with the idea that some guy that apparently knows this stuff on the NFL Network is saying it might cost $13 million per season?
I don't have a problem with that. This is the NFL. Look, the NFL, you just heard the cap is going up. Look, the bottom line is that is no money in the league. That is chump change when you're looking at where guys are going with the money. If you look at the cap, look what guys are making. People said that, they said 5-6 years ago, I can't believe a pass rusher would be making $20 million. Welcome. Now, Austin Hooper hit a home run, right? He hit a three-pointer. He's LeBron James. He won the game. Guess what? He came along in the best time in maybe ever in the history of the NFL for tight ends. It's one of the most coveted positions. And now tight end has replaced running back, in my opinion. The top tight ends have replaced the top running backs when you look at the impact and the money. So running backs, nobody trying to pay running backs like that. But now look at the tight ends. Austin Hooper is in an incredible position, and to me, $13 million, I'm locking him up, getting him for 4 or 5 years, and I'm done with that.
So I guess my feeling on this is, I'm going to read some comments on this in a moment. I'm very eager to see Atlanta re-sign Hooper. I think that's going to be a big part of their offseason equation, offseason formula. But there does come a point when the price just gets too high, right? I mean, it's like if you and I are going out for a fast food burger and you get the bill and it's $100, at a certain point in time you're like, well, I like the food, but maybe not quite at that price. The same thing can be true here. I like the player, but maybe not quite at that price. I mean, at a certain point in time, it just gets to be a lot of money. Now, I'll also say this. To me, this seems like posturing. There's no better source for like talking head on TV than agent. There's nothing an agent wants to do more than push the idea of, hey, the market's robust. It's going to be just like it was for linebackers a year ago. It's going to be $13 million a year for a guy like Austin Hooper. That feels to me like a talking point that came from an agent. Now, I'm not telling you who Tom Pelissero's talking to and who he's not, but this to me feels like a well-placed nugget from someone who has a vested interest in seeing the contract stuff go up as high as it can. So there's a part of me that says I'm going to believe that number for a tight end like Austin Hooper when I see it. But if we take it at face value, that is a lot of money.
Yeah, that's a lot of money, but not in NFL terms. It's not. Not for an impact player. How much are you willing to pay to get a piece for a Super Bowl championship? If you could, we've never had one. Okay, so now we got a tight end who's a baller. So my thing is this. Okay, I don't know what their salary cap's like. Well, how about Jason Witten? He's retired, go back into the booth. How about Austin Hooper there? Oh, that'd be pretty good, huh? Mm-hmm. How about Austin Hooper? Maybe Taysom Hill becomes the quarterback. Drew Brees retires.
Yeah.
How would he look in New Orleans? You want him coming back. So to me, the premium right now for Austin Hooper is $13 million. To me, that's not a lot of money. Now, the only thing I'll say, if they don't sign Austin Hooper, I got 5 guys coming up that we're going to talk about that. So I ain't got a problem. Listen, if they didn't sign Austin Hooper, I'm fine with that. If they sign one of these guys that's on my list, you know what I'm saying? And these are prime time guys that I think can help the Falcons win the Super Bowl. But I ain't got a problem with it because I see Austin Hooper. You put Austin Hooper in New England. Come on, man. Figure it out. Tom Brady, Austin Hooper. To me, if the Falcons don't sign him back, we're going to look back and say, man, we had him. And that money was nothing because the price of doing business in NFL is skyrocketing.
So I'm going to read a lot of comments. You're going to see a very similar theme with all of these. I'm going to start on Facebook. Charles Weaver said Hooper isn't an impact game changer. He's been just above serviceable. Wesley Allen says we need to sign him at $10 million, basically not at 13. Otis Smith Jr. says no. Charles Weaver says this isn't realistic. $13 million for a tight end, nope. J.C. Huey says even if we could afford Hooper, he still isn't worth $13 million. James Michael Brown says Hooper's good, but not $13 million. I could really kind of go on and on here. Martavius Hill says I was afraid it would be hard to re-sign him, but this is exactly why I don't trust Dimitrov. So that a little bit of criticism of Dimitrov there. But you're seeing a lot of people essentially saying the same thing of kind of like Hooper as a player, but maybe not at $13 million. And one of the problems here is, and this is just realistic, one of the problems here is if you're Atlanta, I'm talking about the organization itself, if you're Dimitrov, if you're Blank, if you're Rich McKay, how much motivation do you have to dig deep and re-sign Austin Hooper if on the day you announce it, it's not going to be celebrated as, this shows Atlanta's commitment to building a winner? If Falcons fans are going to be like, why are you spending so much money on a tight end who, according to some of them in our comment section, is not a game changer? It's a weird spot for Atlanta to be in. Money's tight. They have to be judicious about how they spend free agent dollars. This would be an example of if they won the bidding war for Hooper, it's not like every Falcon fan is going to be high-fiving and saying, yeah, boy, our team went out and got it done. Now, I think Falcons fans have undervalued Hooper, and frankly, I even think the Pro Football Focus, some of the stuff I read on Friday's show, may be an undervalue for Hooper there as well. But overall, it's a weird spot for Atlanta to know that if you really do the hard work of figuring out how you can afford him, you're not going to have every Falcon fan high-fiving you for doing so.
Well, I understand that, but I ain't worried about what our Falcons are talking about. I ain't worried about the fans talking about we high-five when Devontae Freeman got paid. Mm-hmm. They almost picketed on Flowery Branch when everybody wanted Devontae Freeman. So at the end of the day, I understand. But see, here's my thing. Listen, this is what I'm saying. Yeah. I don't know if they're going to sign him or not. I'm not vouching for him. All I'm saying is if they decide to go for him, he's worth the 13 or the 12, somewhere in there. And to me, it ain't going to be $13 million a year. It's going to be somewhere around 10 to 11 million a year. Yeah. I believe.
I think you're probably right about that.
Around that 10, 11 million a year. But here's my thing. I am okay if they don't bring Hooper back. But what I want, if you ain't going to get Hooper back, go full blast at one of these guys that I'm going to have on my list, and I'll talk about that later. But what I'm saying is there are guys out there, because I believe the Falcons can survive without Hooper. When Hooper was hurt last year, the Falcons still rolled. In the second half of the season, Hooper got hurt a couple games, the Falcons still rolled. But can we use them? Yes. But I think we could use defenders more important than we need Hooper.
Well, Bubba on Facebook said the same thing, that he wants to see them build up the defense instead. And by the way, later on in our show, Chuck's got a really good list of exactly who he thinks Atlanta could spend some money on if the opportunity presented itself.
If we don't get Hooper, this is the hoopless list.
Okay,
because we're going to have some money to spend on these guys. So, just clarifying that.
Let me open up a can of worms on something for a second. To me, if you had to spend that much money, $13 million per season, to bring back Austin Hooper, There's a way of looking at that makes it not seem such a great reflection of Matt Ryan. Because what you want to be true is, you want Matt Ryan to be the kind of quarterback that could build up a tight end in absence of Austin Hooper and turn that guy into a star. What you don't want to do is say, we got to draft a running back in the first 2 rounds. We got to, already spend a huge chunk of money on Julio Jones, keeping him here forever. Now you got to re-sign a tight end for a whole bunch of money. You got to keep doing those things to get the most out of your quarterback. You want it to work the opposite way. You want the quarterback to be able to make a star out of the other guys. So if the price tag for Austin Hooper gets too high, you say, I'm going to let you go, I'm going to let you walk, and I'm going to shake your hand on the way out the door because you did some good work in a Falcons uniform, but I'm going to let you go because I trust my franchise quarterback to make a star out of the tight end that we're going to draft to replace you. So if you spent too much money on Austin Hooper, that's not a great reflection on the confidence that this organization still has in Matt Ryan.
No, you're exactly right. So here's my thing about it. You make a good point about confidence in Matt Ryan. I agree. But there's so many different pieces that we're talking about that help Matt Ryan. No protection. How does Hooper get better? No running game. So listen, to me, really, the grade on Austin Hooper is kind of incomplete.
Yeah.
How can we say it's complete when the offense was an absolute disaster the first half of the season?
Yeah.
And this seems like I say this every week, but I do. You cannot evaluate an individual yet. They got to project where he's at. Now, what they end up projecting, they say, well, what can we get out of Austin Hooper 2 years down the line? We know what he got now. So we're going to evaluate Austin Hooper, and this is how they do with scouting. They say, what can we get 2 years down the line, right? Mm-hmm. And to me, I see progress. But when I look at that number, now here's my other thing. When I look at Austin Hooper, let me backtrack. So if I'm not going to get one of these top-notch pass rushers or the safety that I'm going to talk about, I got to go for Devondre Campbell. Mm-hmm. He's a young guy. He's developing. Well, he's not young. He's in his prime.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? But he's a player.
Yeah.
And then to me, you pull him around 5-6. He's going to get about $5-6 million. Listen, don't be surprised if Devondre jump out here and get $8 million.
Right.
I'm just saying.
Well, I think he's probably high-fiving his agent with all this big talk coming about Austin Hooper. I think at least the best guess I have is it increases the likelihood that at some point in time Atlanta says, you know what, we can't afford Hooper, so now we have more resources to focus in on Devondre Campbell. I think Campbell would love to see the tight end market explode because it just increases the likelihood that Atlanta wants to negotiate with Campbell more so than Hooper. Right, and I agree. And to me, you got to bring Devondre back, man. The guy makes plays. He's, improving each and every year. But, if I'm not going to have Hooper, I'm dividing it up. But also, I'm looking at some other components on this list. We talked about Devontae Freeman, and I don't know else where the Falcons get money. But I know if they don't give that 13 to Hooper, I'm going full blast. I'm going full blast at one of the free agent pass rushers before anybody on my team. Well, let me get Anthony right here on YouTube who says, nowadays when Mr. Blank comments on something and wants it done, it better get done. Remember, the pressure is on our head coach and general manager. Mr. Blank is not playing. And Anthony, right, I think that's an interesting point. It's also interesting to point out that going back to Super Bowl week, Blank, when quoted in Miami, essentially admitted to the fact that they may not have what it takes to re-sign Austin Hooper, not treating him the same way that guys like Grady Jarrett have been treated, obviously Julio Jones and Matt Ryan. Austin Hooper got a very different level of treatment, a little bit more of a, I would say, aggressive negotiating ploy on the part of the Falcons to say, with Blank as the team spokesman here, saying maybe we can do this, maybe we can't. Which I think in retrospect makes a lot of sense here, that if Atlanta's going to get Hooper back, it's going to have to be done through a very aggressive negotiation posture. Obviously, the Hooper side of this seems to have some of that. We've already heard a lot of whispers of they expect the market to be robust. You've even got now some numbers attached to all this. Clearly, some people on the player side of this are certainly fanning the flames for what the negotiation is going to be like. I think Atlanta has, use a big word here, like a fiduciary responsibility to make sure that they don't get caught up in all of that and they negotiate from a position of strength against Hooper. I think you're seeing a public example on both sides, player and organization, of a little bit of posturing here in terms of who's got the negotiation leverage.
Right. I think ultimately they both got leverage. I think the Falcons have leverage because they don't necessarily need him. In their minds, it's clearly they must not necessarily need him, right? But Hooper got as much leverage as you can have. Man, Hooper got 31 other teams that can look at him.
Yeah.
I mean, really, I'm just telling you now from the player standpoint. No hoop doing, he's sitting back. You think he's sitting back sweating because the Falcons ain't offering him? If anybody out there thinks that he really cares what the fans or what Arthur Blank says right now, he's going to get paid. Mm-hmm. He is going to be valuable. And I'm going to tell you, when he goes on that market, you'll see it might go higher than that. Mm-hmm. Because when you look at the dynamics of the position, he hit a home run at the right time. But as far as the Falcons are concerned, they don't have much leverage. All they got is we don't want you. That's not leverage because he holds the card. He can go somewhere else. Now, if he was like a restricted free agent or something like that, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, we got you, man. We want to play with you a little bit.
Well, but I'm going to oversimplify something that's a lot more complicated than I'm about to say that it is. But from Atlanta's standpoint, they don't have a ton of motivation here to make the first move because at that point, you're only negotiating against yourself, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, if somebody wants to swoop in and say, hey, we want to get you from Atlanta, we want to bring you over here, here's a real contract, real offer, real numbers, this is what we're willing to pay you, and then the Falcons kind of negotiate from that standpoint. But from the Falcons standpoint, I kind of understand why they'd want to move as slow as they can. And if this big money is really going to fall out of the sky, if this big number is going to get kicked around in any kind of real way, then let some other team be the first team to do that and let Atlanta negotiate on that number from that point. But the Falcons would be foolish to start the negotiations at some huge number, right?
Well, yeah. You want to have that kind of leverage. But as far as when you're talking about the number, so the Falcons in this situation with Hooper, no doubt, you don't have to start. You control whatever you want to do. But when you wait around and you start realizing that, wow, our guy, matter of fact, he's taking less than what we thought he would take, and he's going somewhere else out of the disrespect part of it, where you didn't think he was good enough. So look, Hooping is listen, on the other side, we're not on the other side in them buildings right now, but they already know what's happening. Mm-hmm. Hooper, the agent, the Falcons already know. So what it sounds to me, Arthur said what? He said D-line, I think. Yeah. He said left guard, right? Yeah. And I'm going to tell you, tight end's at a premium position, but right now, to me, the Falcons have to get an edge rusher. There is none.
Well, we're going to talk a lot about that.
Absolutely none on the team.
Coming up, I want to get some YouTube comments as well. It's AJC Falcons News Now, sponsored by Miller Lite. Miller Lite, the official beer of the Atlanta Falcons. It tastes great, and it's just 96 calories. So over here on YouTube, JJ Blue 23 says, let him walk if they demand more than $9 million. A good chunk of his catches were checkdowns after Falcons fall behind big. So listen, I'm a Hooper supporter, but it's hard to deny that we have these numbers from Pro Football Focus on Friday's show. They did try to paint it out as if a lot of what he was doing is not, beating man coverage in a one-on-one situation. A lot of it was finding underneath parts of zones, finding those seams in zones, in safer check down type routes. Now, listen, maybe Pro Football Focus is right, maybe they're wrong, but we did have those numbers on Friday's show. At least kind of hangs around your mind a little bit, doesn't it?
Not really.
Okay.
Because I followed this. I watched the actual game and watched the flow.
That's true.
And let me give this one to you. How about the first 5, 6 games? Julio Jones had no catches. Mm-hmm. Am I right? I'm not even sure. Was it 5, 6 games? Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. So who else was there? Sanu was ineffective. The offensive line was ineffective. We had no running game, and now you complaining about a check down to a tight end who's making plays? He was what? What did he have? He had to have over 600-700 yards. I know he had 7, 8, 9 touchdowns. Easy. So we're going to beat this guy up when our star guys wasn't balling, our quarterback sucked, O-line sucked, and our Hall of Fame receiver had no catches. So who else we going to have to step up? So at some point, I can tell you right now, Hooper made plays. Well, you got some numbers on
75 catches, 787 yards, 6 touchdowns.
Okay.
Yeah, it's good.
He balled out. Remember what he missed 2 games? So all I'm saying is this, man. We're holding this guy to a level which is unrealistic. No running game, no offensive line, and no receivers in the first half. Let's not forget this.
Right.
It wasn't exactly like the field was being stretched by Calvin Ridley.
Yeah.
So everybody I just named did nothing in the first half. Hooper balled, and if it weren't for Hooper a lot of those times, they would have had no offense.
I'll give Blake Robinson some credit. He's one of the few guys kind of swimming against the tide here, but he's sticking to his gun, saying, period, point blank, Hooper is a must-keep. Tony Name says, so what's the news on Devontae Freeman? We know he's not worth his current contract, maybe a trade for more picks, hopefully. I mean, yeah, that's one of those, much the same way Atlanta kind of sort of aggressively decided to move on from Vic Beasley, my offensive version of that would be Devontae Freeman. And listen, it's not necessarily all Freeman's fault. I mean, Dirk Cutter's offensive play calling for the running game, you can say that's left something to be desired. Mm-hmm. But at this point in time, Freeman is not worth the money that Atlanta's paying him.
Well, I understand that. But to me, you let Vic Beasley go, you let Freeman go. Now you're starting to say, man, everything we kind of did was really bad.
Yeah.
A lot of egos in sports, a lot of egos in football. Not saying there's ones that are going to have anything to do with this decision, but I'll just say, to me, I would let him go, get a cheaper guy, and add that money maybe towards Freeman and another guy. I mean, towards a running back or a Hooper. But real quick, I want to say something. Now, we were just talking about Hooper. Now, I'm not saying Hooper's a must. Don't get it twisted.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Hooper, we got to have him.
Right.
I'm just saying I ain't got a problem. They sign him for the $10, $12, $13 million a year.
Okay.
Get it done. If all that other stuff don't come, but they got to either sign your young bucks, Devondre, or again, if you don't go and get a pass rusher in this draft, you're not serious about trying to win a Super Bowl because you got to get a proven guy.
All right, let me do this with Devondre Campbell because this kind of comes up a lot in our comment section. Tony Russell and Blitz 818, let me read both of these. Tony says, Chuck, quit talking up Campbell. Can't cover and ain't knocking the snot out of anybody. Blitz 818 says, Campbell's just a bigger version of Paul Warlow. Can't get off blocks, can't cover. Makes too many tackles after giving up yards.
Who said that?
This is Blitz 818 and Tony Russell in the comment section.
Blitz 818?
Yeah.
Let me make sure I get your name right so I can address this.
Okay, please. And also Tony Russell as well.
All right, Tony, let me talk to you too. All right, now, you have seen me sit on this show all year and talk about Vic Beasley, his lack of pass rush, right? Mm-hmm. And we talk about Tack McKinley, but everybody keep coming back saying Tack, this and that, he's going to be approved, all that, right? So we got this pass rush that has this one guy on it. His name is Grady Jarrett, Pro Bowler. Had one of the great seasons you can have as a Falcon. Right now looking like he could be an all-time great. Let me mark that down, okay? And we got this cornerback, Oliver, that we have out there that we knew couldn't make a tackle, couldn't cover nobody, gave up dang near 250 yards to the Texans, okay? Then we got this other guy, Trufant, that y'all know y'all can't wait to get out of town, right? Trufant, he get on the bus. If you was there, you probably make him get back on the bus. And now you're going to talk about Devondre Campbell.
Yeah.
I'm putting all these pieces together. The Falcons team is so incomplete. How in the world you going to cover somebody when the quarterback got 20 seconds back there? What game was it? I think it was, what game was it? I'm trying to think. I don't know. But the quarterback, they counted, they made a joke of the Falcons. He counted 8 seconds he held the ball. Mm-hmm. 8 seconds. Devondre Campbell, growth is stunning. Hey, to me, I see what he does. He makes plays, but I don't care who you are. You can't cover. Man, there's so many pieces of the puzzle that don't fit with the Falcons right now. It's really whack right now, honestly, to try to evaluate them because so many pieces affect the other pieces. Yeah. And Devondre can play. But I've said this all along. Devondre Campbell played middle linebacker middle backer. He's tall, he's rangy, and he might not look like the traditional middle backer. Yeah. I'm putting Debo, who runs a 4-3 on the outside, who's our best cover guy, and I'm putting Devondre Campbell in the middle. But to me, I just think they'd be a different fit if they played someone else. But Devondre Campbell, I'm good. Pay the man and bring him back.
It is interesting, though, that, and I gave you those two comments because I've seen this in our comment section before, where, for whatever reason, I'm not saying who's right and who's wrong, but Campbell's not one of these guys that's like super popular in the comment section. He's just not.
Well, who is popular right now?
I know this is a bad season, so you can say nobody is. I get what you're saying.
You're good.
I think Grady's popular. I mean, everybody loves Grady.
But at one point, they weren't like, in the beginning, people weren't like, oh, Grady. People love Grady. Let's do the check the boxes. Matt Ryan can't throw the ball deep enough. We don't like him, okay? Let's check Devontae Freeman. We don't like him. Jake Matthews, we don't like him. Man, if I could...
Oh, that's a good question. So here's who I would say who's popular in the comment
section. Popular? Let's go with who people like on the Falcons.
Ridley, right?
Ridley.
Obviously Julio.
Okay, we like Julio.
Grady.
And
I'm not saying this is right or wrong. I'm just saying this is who Falcons fans are popular. Kendall Sheffield?
Who?
Sheffield? Quarterback?
Oh, yeah. Dude,
people like him.
Okay, they love the kicker.
Yeah,
the new kicker.
Talking about young Wei
Young
Koo?
Wei
They just
Koo,
like
yeah.
his name.
Hold up, what's the old kicker's name that we got rid of?
Bryant.
They love Matt Bryant.
Not at the end now. Not
But
at
look,
the
but
end.
they ran him out of town. But look, here's my thing about that. I'm just saying.
People
To
like
me-
Keanu when he's healthy. When healthy, people like Keanu. I'm just saying, when he's healthy, he's popular.
So there's 53 men on this roster.
Yeah, I know what
Okay.
you're saying.
So, but look, to me, Devondre Campbell is.
Oh, by the way, Charles Weaver said Deion Jones too. People like Debo.
Yeah, I like Debo.
Yeah.
I like Debo. So listen. So this is what I'll tell you. There's one person that the 3-4 would benefit too. Devondre.
Yeah.
Again, he's more of a 3-4 backer, or he's a 4-3 middle backer. So again, some of the stuff we've seen with the defense, the things like that. But I like Devondre Campbell. I think he's an asset. But I'm just telling you, it's radical.
Yeah.
Put Devondre Campbell inside, put Deion Jones outside, let Deion cover people. He's lightning fast. Let Devondre hammer the middle.
So a bunch of people also saying DeMonte KZ. People like KZ.
I'm just trying to figure out.
Yeah.
I mean, KZ.
People like KZ.
What about Trufant?
I don't know about
True.
that. I don't know about that. That's been a minute since he's been popular around here, I think. All right, it's AJC Falcons News Now, sponsored by Miller Lite. That's Chuck Smith. Chuck's got a free agent wish list coming up in the event the Atlanta does not pay big bucks to Austin Hooper. You're going to like these names that he could see Atlanta targeting. We'll talk about that coming up here in just a moment. Before that, there's a really good thing up at AtlantaFalcons.com. And I love mock drafts. I like trying to do my part to kind of like chronicle all of these. AtlantaFalcons.com doing a good job of doing their own version of that with the mock draft tracker. And Chuck, they have like a bunch of mock drafts up. It's really interesting. Now this is
Made all by the Falcons, or just
no, this is
following
all
other
like the stuff around the internet.
Oh, okay.
So basically, anytime that somebody like a real person, like a good media
Yeah.
person, puts in a mock draft, they put it in here. And there's a bunch of these in here already. I can't hardly count them all. But every one of these but one, and we talked about Chad Ruder the other day from NFL.com. No, that's not the one. Lance Zierlein was the one who had Atlanta taking Zach Bond out of Wisconsin. But every other one of these mock drafts, like a dozen mock drafts, have Atlanta either taking Clavon Chasen out of LSU or A.J. Epinesa at Iowa. It is amazing. Either this is just like total groupthink, everybody just kind of copying each other's homework, or Atlanta really has zeroed in on pass rusher here, and Epinesa or Chasen is going to end up being the guy Atlanta takes. You and I have kind of talked about this. Can you truly get excited about either one of these guys?
I'm more excited about Chasen than I would. Chasen's at Chasen, right? I'm more excited about Chasen than I am about the guy from Iowa. I just am, because I've had a chance to watch him. You know, he's sort of, first year, started making some plays, edge guy. But you know what I like out of the two guys? I need true edge guy. I need a true edge guy. So, but when you look at stuff like that, all right, the combine's coming up here pretty soon, right? So we got the combine. We got pro days coming up. Guys are going to separate themselves. Then you got individual workouts. So I don't put too much stock into that. But I will say this. The reason why people are saying that, everyone around the country, because everybody can see the Falcons are starving for a pass rusher. They are hungry. I mean, they got to do whatever. I mean, the Falcons are, on one knee, begging the pass rush gods, bless us with something that can stick. Find us something, because what's the last guy we had here that can really rush on the edge outside of Vic Shear? John Abraham.
It's been a while, yeah.
Abe almost Hall of Fame eligible.
Yeah.
It's been some years.
Yeah.
So I think that's why you see all these guys, Zierlein and all those guys talking about it, because it's a fact. And if the Falcons can't find the right guy at that draft pick in the first round, it's got to be someone that's that much better. You know what I'm saying? That much better than one of the guys we're talking about, because you can't get to the Falcons cannot get to the Super Bowl and win it. And I'm talking about win it with the pass rush we have now. It's no way. There's no way.
So I totally agree with you on all that. Obviously, this is Atlanta's big need. But Pro Football Focus had some pretty rough takes on Clavon Chasen this weekend. I don't know. I never know what's true, what's not. Everybody kind of sort of picks over every prospect this time of year. I guess my question, though, is no one denies that Atlanta really needs pass rush. But what if you don't think A.J. Epinesa at the NFL level really provides it? This is a big guy, but as you said before, this is not really that edge rusher as much as he might be a guy at like 280 pounds. That's a guy that's more of like an interior, rusher from time to time. What if you don't believe in Chasen? What if you believe that some of those moments in which he didn't look like the dominant player at LSU, What if you think that's more of a reflection of who he really is? What if you think that if Epinesa is just too big to show the speed around the outside edge that you need? What do you do then?
Then you get the best available. You feel your cornerback need. But to me, I'm not just taking the pass rusher because I need him that bad. It's got to be someone that fits the mold of a guy that can help us rush now. This ain't no development phase, right? So again, the Falcons are a ready team, ready to win the Super Bowl. But if those two guys aren't ready, I'm not getting them. Now, we're going to talk about chasing real quick. Both of these guys, to me, they're a little suspect when it comes to what I'm looking for. Now, I like chasing again, but you asked me out of the two, right?
And the reason why I say those two is because that's who everybody has Atlanta taking, one or the other. And you can stop putting him on the screen.
Yeah, because his face mask is way too close.
No, I'm saying, but he's going to be drafted 3 hours before Atlanta makes a pick. It is close.
Run that back real quick, Mike. Let me just show you.
Face mask.
And that's what happens when you want to know why his face mask is so close?
Why is that?
Because it's the dreads in the back. His hair, the hair pushes the helmet up and gets close to your face mask. Look, I love the hair, but this new generation, all of them face masks like that. Is that TMI? I'm giving you some inside information.
Is it dangerous to have a face mask that close, or just doesn't look good?
Nah, because he's the dude always knocking the hell out of people.
Right, yeah. He's the one doing the hitting.
But you know what, though? Let me just sit. I'm sitting at home. Y'all roll with me. I'm sitting at home watching LSU play against Auburn. I'm sitting here. My son's making noise. He yelling in the other room about the place. He playing PS4, yelling at the game. Right. So I'm watching this game. And I'm going to just tell you how, when I evaluate pass rushers from the naked eye, when I see, not from a technique standpoint, I'm watching the game, I'm like, LSU can't rush. Okay, I'm watching them against, watching them against Alabama. LSU ain't got no rush. And that's how I look, and I don't know. Because in the game, I can see if guys get rushed. So what happened in a few of those games, you start getting, guys got a few rushes in the end. Yeah. But like I'm watching Clemson last year. I'm watching Clemson. Can't rush. Watching Ohio State, what they doing. Ohio State can rush. So it's a difference. But, and listen, I need an impact player, though, at that position. Right. I need an impact player where the Falcons draft. Yeah. And you can't just fit. You just can't force this nail. You just can't hammer it. It ain't going to fit. Right. The nail ain't going in the wall, right? You can't keep smashing it because what you want to do is you got to find it. It's got to come. It's got to be ebb and flow, be smooth. So to me, out of those two, I like the kid from LSU. But me personally, I don't like none of them at Falcons draft.
Well, let me read this. This is Michael Renner from Pro Football Focus on Clavon Chase. And like I said, there's going to be all kinds of draft analysis like this. You can take them all with a grain of salt. But this gives me a little bit of a pause. He says, Chasen is such a head-scratching prospect. The reason being was that he was rarely completely blanked by even the best tackles he faced. He had 4 pressures against the Georgia offensive line, 5 against Texas, and 2 against Alabama. But even with a big second-half lead and an elite athletic profile, Chasen never came close to dominating. He finished the year with a 78.9 pass rushing grade. I have no idea what that means. And only 35 pressures on 370 pass rushing snaps in 2019. Nothing about those numbers screams first-round pick, and they don't get any better when we try to isolate for obvious pass rushing situations. Chasen rushed the passer on 65 third and longs last season when LSU brought at least 4 defenders. He collected only 7 pressures on those pass rushes for a 66.9 pass rushing grade. I mean, listen, everybody's going to get picked around on their draft profile like that, but that doesn't get me all that excited.
Any positives?
Well, this is the whole point of this story was buyer beware on these draft prospects.
Okay, yeah.
So you can find positive stories on Chase, and you absolutely can. Right. It just so happens that this was a, hey, be careful drafting this guy type of article.
All right, I got somebody for you in the 4th round and 3rd round. Right. Going to get Trayvon Hill, kid out of Miami, man. Okay. Transfer from Virginia Tech. I love this kid. Got a lot of, listen, also, if I were these guys, I'm also looking at, for the inside, the guy you can probably get in about the 4th round too, Robert Windsor Jr., D-tackle, big slug, they call him Wild Man Rob, play at Penn State. Okay. I know him. Listen, but there are going to be guys in here. I'm just telling you, it always happens that way. Right. You know what I mean? If you go back and look at the top rookies when it comes to sacks, look at all the rookies, most of them guys ain't no first-round picks. You know what I'm saying?
I do know that. We're going to talk about your free agent list here in a minute. Let me get some comments on this topic, and then we'll do that. John Lambert says little guys like Beasley and Tack get pushed around. I'm not giving up on Tack yet. I think that Tack can still have a nice year.
No reason for Beasley to get pushed around when he was here, man. 225, strong as an ox, lift the house. Oh, that's a mindset.
How about Jimmy Peoples, who says Tack's a solid second pass rusher, but we need a true pass rusher who would elevate the game for Tack as well as the rest of the defensive line. Is he going to be like the Scottie Pippen to somebody else's Michael Jordan, the Robin to somebody else's Batman? Talking about Tack McKinley.
No, Tack is going to be he's going to be, you got Jordan, you got Pippen, he's going to be Robin. You got to be Robin, bro. He ain't going to be number 2, man. I mean, I love him to death, but you're going to have Grady, and you're going to have someone else, and you can have Tack. And that's fine, though. You got to have a third rusher, but 3 rushers going to make dominant. So hopefully Tack becomes that third rusher. But I need the Falcons to bring in a heat-seeking free agent and maybe draft a guy.
John Lambert also mentioning he thinks that A.J. Epinesa is nice, so at least somebody there is kind of in on the A.J. Epinesa thing. And obviously I'm not saying that he's a bad player or anything like that. I guess there's always that thought of when you're drafting in 16s, like right in the dead solid middle of the first round, sort of 16 and north compared to 17 and back, you just like the idea of getting a wow player there. And like A.J. Epinesa, and this is total bias. This is Big Ten bias. This is somebody who watches a lot of Southern football, a lot of dynamic athletes. I don't see Epinesa being that guy. I think that he probably had a better 2018 season than he had 2019 season. This is just sort of a guy that seems like a really good, solid player. At his size, you think he's probably a help in the run game. But he doesn't wow me with that sort of spectacular stuff that, some of the players probably taking just a few more picks are probably going to be able to provide for you.
And I agree with you on that. Man, listen. I'm never big. I'm not, sorry, Big Ten. I'm not, outside Ohio State. And I don't see, the conference not a, conference known for pass rush. I mean, at Ohio State, they number one. I'm just tell you, them suckers. They the top pass rush school, I believe, in the game.
Yeah.
But it's just hard, man. So to me, it's one of those situations we talked about Kinlaw. So if Kinlaw's there, or if he's even close to there, I know you don't like, packaging stuff to trade up. I might give up my third rounder to move up or something like that. But I don't know, man. My thing is I don't like hearing he's a great inside-outside guy. Mm-hmm. That's like, was it Cleveland Farrell from Clemson last year?
Yeah.
He's a great inside-outside guy. So on third downs, you know what they do with him with the Raiders? Put him inside. He can't rush on the edge. He doesn't have edge speed. So, was he number 3? Something like that? Farrell, I'm not sure. Mm-hmm. Number 5, maybe number 5. But I don't want to hear that. I need to have us a burner. I don't care. Listen, I don't even care if he can't play the run right now. We need a guy who can rush off the edge that can impact the quarterback. If he don't play the run right now, we'll work on that. But we need a guy that can come in, rush the passer. I ain't looking for no two-way guy. I need a edge rusher, supreme.
Let me give you one more name that does come up in our comment section more than it comes up in the mock drafts. Tony Russell and others. Somebody's even bringing this up on Friday's show. Was Yetter Gross-Matos out of Penn State, one of those guys that probably go in the first round a little later on. It's kind of funny that you don't see a guy like that connected to Atlanta, but you do see him a little later in the first round more so.
I like him. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like him. I like him better than the ones you just talked about.
Yeah.
Oh, he can go. No, he's got bend. He's got a lot of juice. I like him though.
Richard, I hope I pronounced his name correctly. Darosena, I hope I said that right, Richard. Mm-hmm. Also mentions the name you mentioned the other day, the kid from Utah, Bradley Anae. Is that how you say Anae? Bradley Anae?
Love him. I watched him at the Senior Bowl get off on the ball. He's quick. And let me tell you what I like about him. He's an aggressive pass rusher. He got about 3 penalties, but I'm good with that. He got about 3 or 4 sacks. I love that kid, man. Now, if he runs fast, and right now the scouts are evaluating the film right now. The coaches are there, they're in bunker mode, right? Evaluating everybody, figuring out who's who. A guy like that can skyrocket, particularly at his pro day. So first you run fast at the combine, then you go out there and show the different things you can do on pro day. But I like that kid. He can rush.
Jerry Turner says, is there any possibility of us getting Chase Young? Is he really the player we think he is, and who's the best after him? So, I mean, obviously we never know how any of these guys are going to truly play out at the NFL level. But, I mean, you keep saying, I think you're 100% right. And even someone that's not, like you're a trained, eye at this. You played the position. You certainly coached up enough guys. Take somebody like me who's not a former player and not a personal coach. Mm-hmm. You just watch Chase Young. He's just different than everybody. His ability to kind of get off blocks, get to the quarterback, variety of different ways. He's just different than everybody. So to answer the commenter's question, I think he's clearly the best. I think the next best is a pretty wide gap there in that discussion. But I just don't think Atlanta's got the capital to move up. And I think that, I mean, obviously for the kind of GM who would do this would be someone who knows he needs to have a winner and a winning pick right away. So maybe Dimitrov's got the motivation to do it. But man, the capital it takes to move from 16 to like 2 or 3. Plus, there's a chance that Washington just wants to draft him.
Man, Washington be a fool not to draft him. You got a franchise. He's a franchise builder.
Yeah.
He becomes the face of your franchise. So you went on a lot of different plays. And listen, if they were to draft this guy and he don't listen and things don't work out, they still wouldn't get a black eye. Mm-hmm. He's projected as the perfect type of player, prototype, and from what I see, you couldn't listen. He's going to a 4-3. Mm-hmm. The Redskins are changing their defense. The Redskins been a 3-4 defense forever. Now you put Chase Young next to Montez Sweat last year, and you got the Bama boys in the middle. This team is going to rise really, really fast, man.
Defensive-minded coach now, too.
Oh, yeah. You know, you got to think what you got going there. But Chase Young, I mean, he's fantastic. And I don't to me, I don't even see there's any possibility unless you're giving up 2 first-rounders or even more for this guy. I'm just telling you, to move up, and it's got to be something ridiculous because if you're the Redskins and then you let him go, then he comes out to be Lamar Jackson, the way it's looking now. That kind of, astronomical rise compared to the other guys.
Yeah.
But, you can't get rid of Chase Young. He's a beast. But let me just say this. Let me just pump the brakes a little bit. I know, right? Pump the brakes. All right. So last year, Nick Bosa, we love us some Nick Bosa.
Right.
Rookie of the year. And I'm going to come back to this name I keep talking about. Nick had, I think, 11 and a half. I'm not sure. He had 10 plus. But then there are questions. The best young pass rusher and who had the best year might have played for the Raiders, but he's not Nick Bosa playing on TV.
Yeah.
Max Crosby had double-digit sacks. Little dude from Eastern Michigan nobody knew about, but he got votes, and there's a lot of people that say that he should have been the Rookie of the Year. So, again, you got a third-rounder versus a top pick. There are going to be guys there. If I'm the Falcons, I'm not panicking if I don't get him at 16.
Yeah.
I'm getting the best available because they're going to be pass rush in the second, third round. You go look at the Senior Bowl, they are there. There are all kinds of different. Kenny Willekes. You want an inside-out guy? Mm-hmm. Kenny Willekes broke his femur. A kid from Michigan State when he in his junior year.
Yeah.
He came back this year, had a solid year. So he's getting back to 100%. Destroy people at the Senior Bowl. He's a dog. So if we're going to get an in-and-out guy, wait till the third round. You could get a guy like that.
Yeah.
There's so many guys that are going to be coming out that there are opportunities for you to get these guys.
Rashad Benbow wants to talk about some free agents, so we'll do that. It's AJC Falcons News Now, sponsored by Miller Lite. Chuck Smith. My name's Brandon Adams. By the way, as we head towards the start of free agency and the NFL draft and everything else, great way to stay up to date on everything happening with your Atlanta Falcons is by becoming an AJC subscriber. When you go to the website, subscribe.ajc.com/Falcons News Now, you have a variety of different subscription options to choose from. The daily e-paper sent right to your device. You want Sunday home delivery, you want 7-day home delivery, whichever option you choose. You can cancel anytime, but as a special thank you, we have this officially branded Atlanta Falcons cooler to let folks know you're a big fan of the Falcons, but also let folks know that you're proud to keep up to date with what's happening in your city as an AJC subscriber. Of course, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution is a proud partner of the Atlanta Falcons. One of the ways we show that's with this cooler. So go to subscribe.ajc.com/Falcons News Now to claim yours today and stay up to date on what's happening with your Atlanta Falcons. With that said, a lot of free agents out there, a lot of ways Atlanta could spend some money if it does not re-sign Austin Hooper. With that in mind, Chuck's got himself a little bit of a wish list here.
I got a wish list. Chuck's third down. 5 guys I'd love to have here in 2020.
Oh, let's do this. It's fun.
All right, let's start off. We're going number 5, right? What got on there? You got to pull it up, Mike. There we go. Good. All right, here we go. Now, Shaq Barrett. This is a long shot now. This is me just saying I'd like to have. So let me just tell you how this would work. If the Falcons got rid of Freeman, they didn't bring back Hooper. All right, now this is a dream. He led the league in sacks last year.
Probably pretty expensive.
Yeah. Hey, but am I trying to get to the Super Bowl or not?
No, I know what you mean. Because
I'd give up the $20 million a year for the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But so remember now, this is guys I'd love to have. Not saying we're gonna get them.
I know.
But here's my thing. Here's my thinking. Falcons have been running the base 4-3, but guess what? They've made a commitment also to use multiple looks in the 3-4. So he can play DN, but he's more of a 3-4 guy. In a dream, Shaq Barrett. That's why he's number 5 on my list. Let me go to number 4. Now I like this guy, Javon Hargrave, Pittsburgh Steelers. Big, thick, sneaky pass rusher rushing up the middle.
Yeah.
He had 10.5 sacks over the last 2 seasons in Pittsburgh. He can gobble up blocks. Now we can let Grady freelance.
Yeah.
I would love to have him. Now listen, he's probably going to get $7-8 million a year somewhere in there where he's affordable. Remember, Pittsburgh has Cam Hayward. They got Stephon Tuitt. They don't necessarily need him. They're not going to bring him back.
How much better would Grady Jarrett be, though, with more space lining up next to him?
Huge. And remember, remember this. We need a pass rusher on the edge, but we also need a big run stuffer in the middle. Grady can't do it all. I'm tired of seeing Debo kept making tackles 5 yards down the field, okay? Debo's like, I need somebody to help me, so Devon, so Deion Jones, that helps him too. All right, number 3 on my list. Keanu Neal has been beat up, right? He's an incredible safety. So I like Anthony Harris. Now, it's not just all defensive linemen. I'm an equal opportunity defender when it comes to here.
I like that.
Anthony Harris, guys, he's considered one of the best in the league. He was a top by Pro Football Focus, a top safety in 2019, tied for the lead, the NFL lead with 6 interceptions. He's a ball hawk. We need a guy back there who can get interceptions. The Falcons just haven't gotten a lot of interceptions, particularly from the safety position. Yeah, I like this guy, Anthony Harris, because think about it. It'd be a huge upgrade from what we got. Keanu Neal, not sure if he's going to be able to come back. So to me, when I'm looking at this guy right here, Anthony Harris, I like it. Now, here's the one everybody's talking about. He's my number 2, but he might be your number 1. Outside linebacker, Dante Fowler. Yeah. Only 25 years old. Everybody's running around, on the grave, getting on the train, now riding on the Fowler train, but I like it. Former number 3 pick overall. Last year had 11.5 sacks. He posted his best. Now, I'll tell you about this kid. He can rush the passer. I love him because he's developed some moves. And I think the motivation of losing your job in Jacksonville, getting unceremoniously ran out of town because you're a knucklehead in the locker room, you go to St. Louis and you've changed. Aaron Donald, vouches for you. You're a good guy. He absolutely, and I watch him, guy can rush now. Yeah. He comes on the Falcons, he's the best rusher we've had in a long time. I mean, it's simple, and he got that dog into him. I mean, he's the kind of dude that'll smack his mom and won't even apologize. I'm just telling you, he's that kind of guy. I like him, but he's going to have to do something about that hair, though. I'm starting to get tired of that style there now. My folks out there, my son's got that wild style, too. All right, now, number 1 on my list. Number 1 is the reason why number 2 got ran out of Jacksonville. Yannick Ngakoue. He ran Dante Fowler out of town, and he even had a fight, and I think Yannick put them hands on him, but that's a whole nother story. Yannick Ngakoue, he's 6'2", 246, not the big heaviest dude, but what we need now is a pass rusher. He is surefire. Let me tell you why right now what makes him special. You can't block him one-on-one. His dude is deadly, man. 37 sacks in 4 seasons with Jayville. Nobody even knows him. Out of D.C., played in Maryland. This dude is special, but he plays in. Nobody knows who's in Jacksonville. Right. I mean, let's be real. Yeah. We don't
not a high-profile team.
You know what I mean?
Not a high-profile team.
So this dude right now, look, he's $20 million. I mean, he's gonna be 17 to 20.
Expensive.
Or maybe he might be around Grady plus. Probably somewhere around there, Grady plus. But instantly, now you got a guy on that field turf in the bins, rush the passer. I love Yannick and I love Dante Fowler, but the beauty of it is both of these guys played together in Jacksonville and they're on the same competitive level. I'll just say that I like Yannick more, but I mean, they're both, listen. Yeah. Look, if the Falcons are going to try to get one of these dudes, they're going to have to pay. So my thing is Fowler ain't come here to give him no discount. So if you're going to get any of these 2 guys, to me, the ones that you most likely, I'm just telling you, might fall into, you might not want to hear this, Falcons, we're going to draft pass rusher in the 1st round, and then somebody like Hargrave, to me, and Harris, Shaquille, that's not a real good look for him. But if you can get Yannick, go for it.
Well, let me ask you this on Fowler here for a moment. 11.5 sacks this past year. What's it like 4 the year before that? Did have 8 in 2017, only 4 in 2016. Is it a red flag for you when a guy really shows up bigger than he's ever had before in the year right before he's supposed to get paid? Is this the light finally coming on, or is this a guy that's just finally more motivated because he knows he's got to put up for the money he's about to command?
Well, I think, you got to look at it, and that's one of those things you can't really, there's no way to measure it. But I will say this. I mean, if you're going to get paid, what year, why not ball out on that year? I mean, you know what I'm saying? So to me, you get players that they ball out all them years and you pay them, they still don't do nothing. You know what I mean? But I'll just say this. In every player's ascension to being great, you got to have that year or a couple years. Now, I think he's a good rusher. I like how he's played. You know what I mean? He did have AD with him, right? But I don't.
And that helps, right? Having Donald side by side,
it helps. It helps. But let me give you another sleeper real quick. All right. But again, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I'm wanting to know what you think. I'm just asking you.
Oh yeah. No, it doesn't really bother me because I'm trying to win now.
Right.
I'm good. You give me a reliever. We get 1 year, we win the Super Bowl. You, like in baseball, you give me that reliever, we win one. I'm good.
Right.
But let me tell you another name. I'm gonna throw your way that would absolutely be the best pass rusher here. Robert Quinn. Mm-hmm. Boom.
Yeah.
He's a free agent too. Old guy, can mentor attack. Love him. Got great moves. I mean, still dominant pass rusher with the Cowboys. He's a free agent, so I like him. But I think, to me, I don't know, man. I just think Fowler and Yannick are going to be the ones, but I wouldn't count out. I'm just telling you, this Hargrave guy, and then he's a sneaky pass rusher.
Yeah.
Like I said, he's got 10.5 sacks in the past 2 seasons.
And a big nose guard makes it easier for everybody to rush the pass.
Yeah, man, look at him. Got a baby face, man. The fans will love him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's my man. He thick, big, built like a Mack truck.
I like the idea.
All right, good.
I like the idea.
Let's get him done. Let's get it done, Tom.
Love it when Chuck digs deep with a little research and puts some stuff together. Always fun here on AJC, Falcons News Now, sponsored by Miller Lite. And, of course, we'll take your comments on this. And really, this kind of stuff we're going to be talking about a lot during this offseason, figuring out where Atlanta's got the money to spend, who best is the best fit for that money, how it uses its draft picks. We're going to have a good time with all that kind of stuff. Something that's not quite as much fun for Falcons fans, and you just barely came in on board around this time, but we are now the anniversary, as Gil Brandt, the longtime NFL writer, points out on Twitter today. This is the anniversary of the Brett Favre trade. On this day in 1992, Brett Favre was traded from the Falcons to the Packers for a first-round pick. Head coach of the Falcons at the time was Jerry Glanville, who was still coaching in his 7th decade. He's currently in the XFL. So if I've got my timeline on this right, Favre is traded, and then a couple of months after that, you would be drafted. You were taken in the 92 draft, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What was the organizational feeling, and maybe there just wasn't much talk around you at all on this, but about trading Favre and then what Brett became, what was that like behind closed doors with obviously Favre, who has admitted to having a lot of problems here in Atlanta? Buckhead, a real issue for Brett Favre. He said that in the past. But what was it like knowing that Favre got traded and went on to be one of the 100 greatest players of all time?
Yeah, because I think he was the pick for Tony Smith, who was drafted with me.
That's right. Yeah, former Southern Miss guy. Yeah.
I tell you what it was like. I think guys were just shocked. Guys were, because he was like part of the crew. I mean, Brett was one of the boys. You know what I mean? So back then it's kind of legendary here in Atlanta that Jerry Glanville, that we used to go out, was called Fat Tuesdays on Wednesdays.
Okay.
So at the end of camp on Wednesdays, when camp broke, they would get 2 buses. And everybody would go to Underground Atlanta to Fat Tuesdays.
How about that?
Right?
Underground Atlanta,
yeah,
first of all, is a
Fat
throwback.
Tuesdays, right? So, but it was on a Wednesday.
Right.
Think about it. You know how crazy Jerry was. Fat Tuesdays on Wednesday.
Yeah.
So we would do that. So there were 2 buses. The first bus was the good guy bus. You know, the devout Christians, the guys carrying the Bible around.
Right.
You know the guys.
They're having a couple drinks and going home.
Yeah. No, the guys who ain't drinking.
Okay.
Then you had bus number 2 that was rocking. That had dudes on there that ain't took a shower in a week. That's slobbering at the mouth. That's smoking Newports on the bus. That's the bus Brett was on.
Yeah.
Hey, that's the bus.
And he's admitted a lot of this stuff.
Oh yeah, man. So there was 2 buses, right? And it's that. I'm just talking about the mentality of that kind of climate. So Brett, and what I'm saying is Brett was in that clique, right?
Right.
So and they partied, you know, kicked it around Atlanta, and so I just think the climate was disappointment on one half, but Brett was, from my understanding, Brett was a distraction. There was an open animosity with Brett Favre and a little bit with Chris Miller, because Brett thought he was better. You know, Brett, you young, you know how he is. Yeah. So remember, Chris Miller was an established, one of the top quarterbacks in the league. Right. You know what I mean, at the time. So I think it was disappointment. The team was divided though. Yeah. You know what I mean? You got guys, Brett's boys, but then you got guys that are like, he's a distraction. You know, we're trying to win this and that and that. So, you know, but Brett still came back. He was cool the whole 9. But yeah, it was an interesting time for the Falcons, and the organization was, you had Herrock and you had Jerry looking at things from a different perspective. But
I think that a lot of people, football fans that know about this trade, may mock Atlanta for it, because obviously you trade a guy who goes on to be an all-time great player, and the departure of Brett Favre kind of coincides, with a couple of years of the departure of Deion Sanders as well. But this is one of those things where, like, if you lived in Atlanta through the Brett Favre era, if you knew some of the stuff that's kind of going on behind the scenes, stuff that Favre has kind of been more open about over the course of his lifetime, I think it becomes a lot easier to understand why Atlanta felt like it needed to make this move. Yeah. It was not an idea of they didn't think that Favre was ever going to be a player in this league. At least that's my understanding. It was an idea of somehow being in Atlanta just wasn't a very good mix for Favre at that time. You get up to a place like Green Bay, Wisconsin, where there's a lot less nightlife, a lot less going on, and suddenly there's a more focused, more motivated Brett, and the rest is kind of history. But this is one of those deals where, I don't know if you can mock the Falcons too much for making this trade, given some of the things that you kind of, said you saw or heard about with your own eyes.
Was Gil Brandt, you thought that was kind of mocking?
There are a lot of people who do mock the Falcons for this.
Yeah, well, they don't know what the heck they're talking about when they mock them.
Because there's all kinds of guys like this have been, the two teams that didn't draft Michael Jordan, or the, Jeff Bagwell got traded from the Red Sox to the Astros, became a Hall of Famer. Anytime you're on the wrong end of that, you get mocked for that.
Brett was wilding out. Mm-hmm. I mean, let's be real. Brett was kicking it. He was distraction on the team, like I was trying to say.
Yeah.
He was, you got the starting quarterback. You can't be, every second, talking smack, this and that. And look, you drinking all night, hanging out. Yeah, that's part of the. Hey, look, that was part of the NFL culture. It is, but that Brett obviously became to the point where it was a distraction, hanging out and all the things he talks about. It is what it is. So listen, at that time, the Falcons had no other choice but to let Brett go, particularly when you're looking where Chris Miller was, where the team was going. And Brett was absolutely wilding out, as they say.
Well, speaking of wilding out, this is kind of a wild statement from former Cowboy great Michael Irvin, who was on WEEI, which is a sports radio station in Boston. Now, the subject has come up of the idea that the Cowboys would trade Dak Prescott and then sign Tom Brady. You following all this? So this is what Irvin says.
He really said that?
Well, this is what Irvin said he said in the Super Bowl. Okay. So this is his quote on the radio show. He says, "I'm telling you right now, at the Super Bowl in Miami, some very significant people that I had conversations with were leaning in that same direction. It was shocking. I had a vodka cranberry in my hand. When they said it to me, I put the drink down and said, let's talk a little bit more about this. I promise you, I had a conversation with people. I can't tell you who, about the same scenario going down." So if you hear that from Michael Irvin, you're left to believe, well, this must be Jerry Jones or Stephen Jones or somebody like important like that. But since then, Irvin's kind of come out to clarify this on Twitter to say, I never said Jerry or anyone in the organization said this to me. It was not anyone with the Dallas Cowboys. Well, what's the point then? I mean, if you're going on the radio show saying, hey, listen, I've talked to some people, I can't tell you who, but they're talking about getting rid of Dak and bringing in Tom Brady, only to later on find out that it's not anyone even connected to the organization. Man, Michael Irvin needs to sit a couple plays out here. He needs to sit a couple plays out.
He needs to take 2 seats down. Look, Michael Irvin, and to me, matter of fact, his cheering for his team on TV is almost sickening. It drives me crazy. I mean, Michael Irvin, he's literally crying, almost crying, sweating to death talking about the Cowboys. So it doesn't surprise me that he's always in the mix trying to be the Cowboy expert, because he is a legend. But why would you throw the organization somewhat under the bus? Yeah. Who's the first people they're going to think of when Michael Irvin says it's going to what? That's this Tom Brady conversation.
Yeah.
They're going to think Jerry. They're going to think his son. So to me, Michael Irvin, there's 2 guys that stand out. I'm just telling you that carry a lot of weight when they say anything. Troy Aikman and Michael Irvin.
Yeah.
Biggest
Cowboys you can have.
Cowboys.
90s era Cowboys, Super Bowl champions many times over.
And they don't have a problem with, Troy Aikman always calling them out. And I give him a lot of credit. But Michael Irvin, something like that don't make no sense. But here's me, though. I know this is tough. I'm not getting rid of Dak to sign Tom Brady right now.
So here's my take on this, though. The fact that we're even doing this, the fact that Michael Irvin's trying to go on a radio show talking to people about this, that lets me to believe that some of these people, these big-time important names around the Cowboys, I don't mean ownership group, I don't mean decision makers, I mean people who fans in Dallas care about, they must not think Dak's the one. If they're sitting around with vodka cranberries saying, what if you got rid of Dak and brought in Tom Brady? That means there must be some Dak Prescott doubters in Dallas, and it sounds to me like Michael Irvin must be one. Well, if you're trying to go on the radio and sound big about, hey, maybe they're going to make this move, it sounds like maybe some people who Cowboys fans care about don't believe in Dak Prescott.
Well, I think until you win the Super Bowl, they're always going to feel that way. How about Aaron Rodgers? People beating him up now.
Yeah.
People are saying Aaron Rodgers ain't got it no more. So, in Dallas, quarterback, Roger Staubach, Troy Aikman, all these legendary quarterbacks.
Yeah.
They expect the Super Bowl. They ain't won one in forever. I don't even know why they act like that. Man, listen, the Cowboys so obnoxious, you'd have thought they won the Super Bowl last week. But Dak Prescott hadn't won, and here's what they're saying: you got best O-line supposedly.
Yeah.
You got one of the top running backs.
You definitely have that.
Now you got a receiver.
Yeah.
Right. One receiver.
Right.
They brought back Jason Witten. But to me, it's something to be said about that. Dak wants that money, but I think you got to ride with him.
Let me get a couple comments here. Jordan9308 on YouTube says Michael Irvin's a knucklehead. Well, he comes across as a knucklehead on this. He says he hasn't been right ever since Scott Case rang his bell. First of all, shout out for getting a Scott Case mention in the show today.
How about that?
Number 25.
I don't remember that.
I'd like to see video of that. I'll tell you that much, though. Jesse Lange says, going back to the Brett Favre thing, says it's typical Atlanta stuff. Hawks could have drafted Chris Paul, a guaranteed superstar. We end up drafting Marvin Williams, who never proved anything at UNC. And I mean, yeah, there is that sort of like sour Atlanta, thing of you can think of the draft picks that Hawks have missed out on. Falcons, you can point some of those. There is going to be some of that with Atlanta fans saying we could have had Brett Favre and gave him away. I'm just saying, as Chuck said, the behind-the-scenes story with Favre is a lot more complicated.
Yeah, and I'm sure your favorite team could have drafted Tom Brady too, another 31 teams. But anyway.
Yeah.
It happens.
By the way, I guess one more thing before we get ready to get out of here today. Falcons do add a punter, Sam Irwin Hill, Australian punter. These Australian punters are good, man. There you go. There's there you see him, and there you see the Falcons with the announcement, agreed to terms with Sam Irwin Hill. 4 different punters I think they used this past year. Basher, of course, dealt with an injury. Nice little legacy of punters coming from Australia.
Yeah, I know. My evaluation is
long snappers too, I guess, too, right?
that is it.
There you go.
He's a punter.
Yeah. So a lot of offseason moves being made. Not all of them equally exciting, but all crucial to get them where you need to go for the start of the season. Chuck Smith, great stuff today. Appreciate that.
Good to be here always.
Really good comments in the comment section. Thank you for those as well. Don't forget, this is AJC, Falcons News Now, sponsored by Miller Lite. Miller Lite, of course, the official beer of the Atlanta Falcons. We appreciate you being with us.
Tell a friend. Check us out.
Yeah, do that. We'll be back here on Friday. More draft rumors, more free agency stuff. We'll kick it all around. Take a lot of your comments. We'll talk to you then. AJC, Falcons News Now, sponsored by Miller Lite. Have a great day, everybody.